Hello chess lovers, Student here, and in this video I want to share with you a very impressive attacking game played by the legend Bobby Fischer. Fischer is on the black side and his opponent is Yugoslav chess grandmaster Dragoljub Minic. The game was played in 1970 at a tournament of peace held in Rovinj and Zagreb. Minic had white pieces opened up with e4, to which Fischer answered with Sicilian defense. Knight f3 d6, d4 c takes d4, knight takes d4, knight f6, knight c3 and a6. Fischer is choosing the Najdorf variation, the early counter-attacking possibilities of which perfectly fits his aggressive style. Bishop g5 by Minic. In those times this was considered to be the main line. Nowadays bishop e3 is more popular. As you know, when facing the Najdorf variation, Fischer was usually choosing the Sozin attack, but Adam's attack can be also seen very often in his repertoire. In the game we see bishop g5 by Minic, to which Fischer answered with e6, f4, bishop e7, queen f3, queen c7. Well, as you know, Fischer also loved to play the poisoned pawn variations, but in this game he chose a comparatively calmer queen c7 move. White castled queenside, knight bd7, g4 b5, bishop takes f6, knight takes f6. There it goes, white is launching a kingside pawn storm, knight d7. All this is of course a theory seen many times, and the players are pretty much choosing the main moves. a3 by Minic, although I have to tell you that in here f5 is the most popular move. But in the game we see a3, rook b8, the queenside rook is coming to support the advance of the b pawn. Meanwhile, more kingside pawns are stepping forward, b4, a takes b4, rook takes b4, bishop h3, and Fischer castled kingside. This may seem a bit risky because now black king is somewhat exposed to the pawn storm, but soon we will see that Fischer will manage to repel the attack successfully. Knight f5 by Minic, which is a somewhat tricky move, and looks like this doesn't give white much. In here it was better either to proceed with rook hf1 or knight takes e6 is also playable, and then in the end of the day white has this knight d5 move, which leads to a very complex battle where we won't deviate too much into those lines and we'll proceed with the game. Knight f5 by Minic, targeting the bishop on e7 and emphasizing the vulnerability of d5 square. For example, now if you accept the piece sacrifice, then white has this knight d5 move. That's why in the game to knight f5, Fischer answered with knight c5, protecting the bishop. Knight takes e7 check, queen takes e7, h5, bishop b7, and h6. So white is offering this pawn, and in return will win this pawn. Bishop takes e4 by Fischer, knight takes e4, knight takes e4, and h takes g7. Of course black won't win this pawn, now he will use it as a defensive shield. Rook c8 by Fischer, rook h2. From the second rank, the rook can be very useful when organizing the defense, and also if needed in some cases white can double up his rooks. Rook a4 by Fischer, he's creating a direct mating threat, king b1. White is neutralizing that threat, but once he's putting his king to b1 square, it becomes exposed to the aggression of black pieces. Instead, it was better to play b3, securing the b2 square for the king, but in the game we see king b1, to which Fischer answered with d5. He is opening up the queen's diagonal, and now the threat is knight c3 check. If b takes c3, then queen a3, and white will find himself in trouble. That's why, in order to neutralize that threat, Minic played c4. He is giving up this c pawn in order to prolong his resistance. Yes, at this point already white is in trouble and black's position is totally winning. King b1 was a huge mistake. c4 by Minic, and there comes rook takes c4. Bishop f1 and rook b4. Although I have to tell you that at this point knight c3 is playable. If b takes c3, then rook takes c3, and yes, it's over. Rook b8 can be a nice threat, you know, once you move away your queen. For example, let's put the queen, I don't know, let's play queen h5, create a mating thread, and keep the second rank open for the rook. Then anyways, rook b8 check can follow, and then after the exchange of rooks on b2, black queen can jump on b4, and there is a checkmate in one. In the game 2, bishop f1, Fischer chose rook b4, which is also strong but is not as crushing as knight c3 check. Queen h3 by Minic with a direct mating thread, but white is too late. There comes knight c3 check, king c1, knight a4, discovered check, king b1. And now you may ask about how is black going to make a progress? As we have already reached the critical position, please pause the video and try to find the winning line for black. Ready? In here, Fischer went for rook takes b2 sacrifice, yes, a move which removes the last defensive pawn. Rook takes b2, knight c3 check, king c1. Well, if king a1, then queen a3 check is winning. That's why we see king c1, but anyways, queen a3 followed with queen a1 threat. Bishop d3 by Minic. Looks like that white wants to cover the king, but after queen a1 check, white played king d2. The thing is that even bishop b1 can't help white. Black can capture on b1, and then knight c3 discovered check can follow, and then queen takes d1, the game is over. In the game 2, queen a1 check, we see king d2 answer, and there comes queen takes b2, king e1, knight e4, and finally at this point we see a resignation. If you capture on e4, then black can either choose between queen takes b4 followed by queen e4, or can even capture on e4 straight away. According to Stockfish, this is stronger, and then black is creating rook c2 threat. White king is exposed and there is no defense, you know. That's why after knight e4, Dragoljub Minic finally capitulated. Well, that was a very nice counter-attack by Fischer. White's pawn storm looked very scary, but Fischer was faster. In the end, a chess puzzle for you, where the task is to find the mating line for white. It's white to move, and as usual, we'll wait for your answer in the comment section. Feel free to check out the playlist of Fischer's games as well. We'll see you in my next video. Take care.